Hey, this is Max with Building More, and this week I'm making a tile top dining table. The first step in this project was choosing a final design for the tabletop. To do this, I played around with a few different designs before eventually choosing 8x12 tiles, or about 35.5 by 53 inches as the final dimensions. From there, I transferred those dimensions onto a piece of 3/4 inch plywood and cut that out to use as the base of my tabletop. The next step was to create some rails or edges for the tabletop, and I did this by cutting 45-degree miters into some 1-inch maple stock. After everything was cut, it was time to attach the rails to the base of my table, and I did this using wood glue and 16-gauge finish nails. At this point, I wasn't loving how sharp the rails of the table were looking, so I used a block plane to make a small chamfer on all the top edges of the table and then cleaned that off with some sandpaper. From there, I used a paintbrush to apply some semi-gloss deft finish to the tops and edges of my table rails. Once the finish had dried, I applied some silicone adhesive caulking to the base of the table. The silicone would act as an adhesive to attach the base with a sheet of 1/4 inch Wonderboard, which is essentially reinforced concrete that I could build the tiles on top of. I also laid a few rocks on top of the Wonderboard to ensure that it sat flush to the table base. After the silicone had dried, I applied a thin layer of quickset cement, but unfortunately I forgot to film this, so that's why the table base looks different. But at any rate, the next step was to actually lay the tiles, and we did this by applying a thin layer of quickset on the bottom of each tile and then placing them on the table with 2 1/4 inch spacers on each side. After letting the tiles set for about 24 hours, I came back to apply grout. I used a soft rubber trowel to squish grout in between the space bordering each tile. After waiting about an hour, I came back with a wet sponge and cleaned off any excess grout on the faces or edges of the tiles. After the grout had cured for an additional 24 hours, I fastened these legs to my tabletop with 1/4 inch pan head screws. And in case you're wondering, these are square steel table legs that I custom ordered from Semiexact.com. The final step in this project was to apply grout sealant to protect the table from any future spills or staining. I applied a thin layer of sealant to each seam and wiped off any excess with a paper towel. I'm super happy with the way this table turned out and its overall look and feel. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for plenty more to come. Thanks.